And the descriptions are very simple compared to the nice sentences that you typically see on the discs. These only have just a couple of words because they're trying to fit both languages there, which is a little unfortunate, but that's how it's designed. Oh, hello fellow Aussians, and welcome to the channel. Today we are discussing Viewmaster yet again, and this time we will be looking at the foreign releases for the Wizard of Oz reels. I'm gonna try and do these in order of how I believe they were released. Out of the releases that I'll be showing you, these are the ones that I know of that exist. If you, by any chance, know that there is another one that I haven't covered, please don't hesitate to post down in the comments. Back in the 1960s, Sawyers Incorporated opened a separate factory that was located in Belgium that made foreign release packets that were specifically designed to be sold in the European market. And strangely, with this particular factory, they never produced the Wizard of Oz at all during this period. It wasn't until the GAF era, when GAF owned Viewmaster, that we finally got a foreign release for the Wizard of Oz. And our first one is the Spanish edition, which is right here. And this edition came out in the late 70s and features the G5 packet design. This should look very similar to another one that we saw of the English edition release of the Wizard of Oz reels. There are a couple of numbering differences between all of the reels that we will be looking at today that are from these releases, and our first one here features that same packet number of B361, but has the added S at the end, indicating that this is a Spanish release. It also comes with the booklet, which is also in Spanish. It unfortunately doesn't feature the vibrant color pictures that are in the English edition, and the front picture is reproduced not quite to the same quality as what I've seen with the English release ones as well. So that's another kind of interesting difference there with this release. Another thing that's kind of odd, at least that I find, is that the story that is written on the back of the packet that tells you about the Wizard of Oz gives you details of scenes that are actually not on some of the numbered discs. Like disc number 3 says that that is the disc where Dorothy meets the Wicked Witch, even though that happens on disc 2. That's interesting. Don't know what that's about, but that's interesting. One thing to note about this particular era of Viewmaster is that this is unfortunately during the era when GAF was not using the lovely film to make Viewmasters, and these are unfortunately red and have lost their color. So if you are interested in picking up a Spanish edition of The Wizard of Oz that features full color images, I'm not sure that they were produced that way at all. At least the one that I have here, they are red. And I believe this release was actually made here because the packet design doesn't look anything like the ones from Belgium that were being made during this era. The packet design was a little different than the United States one, so I think this was made here in the States. I'm not sure if this was issued in America or if it was issued maybe in Mexico. I honestly don't know. So I'd love to know if somebody else knows. I would love to know more information about this one. Alrighty, our next one, I did not know that this one existed until a couple of years ago. And this is the Canadian release of The Wizard of Oz, and it features both English and French. Unfortunately, I do not have the booklet that went with this one. The seller didn't have it, and I wish I had it to show you, but I don't. And just like the Spanish edition, this one also has a slight variant in the numbering of the packet. This one is B361C, indicating that it's the Canadian release. This is one of the few times that I have ever seen dual language also printed on the reels themselves. So the reels include English and then French underneath it. And the descriptions are very simple compared to the nice sentences that you typically see on the discs. These only have just a couple of words because they're trying to fit both languages there, which is a little unfortunate, but that's how it's designed. And just like the Spanish release that we looked at, these unfortunately are also red. So I don't know, just like with the Spanish release, if you can find this one in full color. And that's just because of the era that it was being printed in. And our last one was produced during the 1980s in Japan. This is the Japanese edition of The Wizard of Oz reels from Viewmaster. And I believe this is during the VMI period of the early 80s. This one also has interesting descriptions on the back of what the reels are called. This is the one and only time that the reels have actually been renamed. So the first reel is called Emerald Journey. The second reel is called The Emerald City, which is the same as the English edition. And the last one is called The Secret of the Silver Slippers. Interesting title. Just like with the Spanish edition, this one also gives a description of what happens on each of the reels. This was one of the last times that The Wizard of Oz was available. It was available into the 1980s on these blister packs. There's no booklet that was issued because at this time they had discontinued the booklets. Really sad. I love the booklets. So, if you were to collect any of these Viewmaster reels and add them to your collection, which one is going to be the easiest to get? Which one's going to be the hardest to get? Great question. The Spanish edition is the easiest one, at least that I have found to collect. I own 2 copies of that one, and the other one that I own is actually sealed. Still with that lovely little price tag on it from Sears. The one that I think is the hardest to find is the Canadian release. I actually had a friend of mine over at the house. This was last year, and he's from Canada. And he had never seen the Canadian release of The Wizard of Oz at all. That was the first time he'd ever seen it. So I believe that is the rarest one. I have seen the Japanese release many times on eBay, but this Canadian release seems to be pretty difficult to find. I only stumbled across it and then was able to pick it up maybe a year after I found out it existed. I just don't see it that often. So I'm definitely still keeping my eyes out for another one so that I can get the booklet that came with it, so I can at least have this one be a little more complete. And if you are interested in hearing more about the earlier and original releases of The Wizard of Oz with Viewmaster, please be sure to check out my other videos. And if you liked that video, please give it a thumbs up, comment down below, and subscribe. New videos are posted every 2 weeks on the 15th and last day of each month. And if that doesn't satisfy your appetite for Oz, follow the link in the description to ozclub.org and join the International Wizard of Oz Club. Until next time, bye y'all.